It's mid-July and it's time for another imperfect garden tour. Look, if you want to come and see a garden that's perfect, where I've got everything figured out, this is not the video for you. But if you want to enjoy all of my imperfections and all the undone stuff and just see the progress of what's growing on here in the meadow, then this video is for you. This time I thought I'd start up at the front. This was our former pollinator patch, and I'm going to grow some flowers en masse to go up here. But meantime, I've just thrown in some sweet potato vines so that we can have some nice coverage up here. And if nothing else, it'll be a nice lush green while I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with flowers now that it's already July. If we check out over here in the front in our fruit guild, if you saw my torching the torpedo grass video, you can see that the torpedo grass is a lot like a honey badger. It did not give a you-know-what. And so before I end up putting the landscape fabric over here, I am going to come back this time with the weed whacker probably and just whack it all back down one more time before I put the landscape fabric in here. The peach tree is sort of recovering and I'm seeing some new growth, which is interesting. After the debacle with all of the torch down below, but this is due for a prune and that's probably on the agenda this week. Over here in our Asian wing bean bed, I also added in cucumbers this year. And so, oh, I see one over there. Nice, nice, nice. Look at there. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right, fantastic. I didn't expect to be harvesting and touring. Look at here. There we go. Oh, that one's had a little bit of love from a pickle worm right there. But we just got to do our best. But it's doing well up here. This gets lots and lots of sun, so I'm kind of surprised, but it's hanging in there. And we're starting to see the Asian wing beans come back. I planted some new ones, but everything's sort of covered over with cucumbers right this minute. I got to get out here and maybe separate those out just a little bit. The other trees that were affected by my torching are still hanging in there. In fact, on this one, we actually see new growth. So, and it had been sitting dormant for a while, so that's kind of nice. And then I've got to get down here and take care of that. One of these is growing from below the graft line, so I got to dig it back a little bit and fix it. The fig tree is continuing to put on some fruit, though mostly the birds and raccoons are getting what we have. And it's rained so much that even if it was ripening, it's not very tasty because it's so full of moisture. We are trying out this bag over at the persimmons to see if we can save what persimmons we have left, because it's going to take them a few months until they ripen. And at this rate, the baby raccoon that I've been sharing, I think I shared it on the channel too, has taken, I don't know, 7 or 8 of them so far out of about 40. And so I'd like to keep those. I even tried putting cayenne pepper. You can see the cayenne pepper here. That baby raccoon was standing in this cayenne pepper completely undeterred last night, completely undeterred. So this peach tree is finally getting some leaves after all season sort of just sitting dormant and empty looking. This fig tree is crazy. Over here, I just have sweet potato vines just as a ground cover. If we get some sweet potatoes out of it, that's fine. But this just kind of helps keep it nice and green over on this side. Over here in this garden bed, we've been testing out these cages from Epic Gardening. They did send those to us, and they do a great job. The tomatoes themselves aren't looking great. I planted them late in the season. I transplanted them too late. And I really did not give them a shot at being any good. And so I don't think I'll have my dreams come true this year of making my first batch of sauce, because I think I'm only going to get 3 or 4 tomatoes out of the whole thing. And I have like 6 plants, but that's me. That's me doing that. The okra over on this side gets shaded out in the afternoon by this fig tree. The okra over here was planted after that. This okra was planted later, and it's bigger, but it doesn't get the same shading. The other thing it does is it sort of shades out this bed, and so I will be more mindful of what I put in here next time, though I will say, I mean, the sun is behind me from where I am. I will say it might have been interesting to put some things that like dappled light down underneath. So again, it's always a learning experience trying to figure out what's going to work best, what's going to do best in the garden. This is just a Chinese cabbage. It's actually a microgreen seed, but we like this for making soups, but this time I just did it just for the pollinators. And I had no idea that the marigolds would spill over like this, but I really like it. It makes me kind of want to make a full marigold bed and just let it spill over all the way around. Our Cataly guava is still showing off. This is the one that I didn't move yet. In fact, I think I missed showing this on the last tour, so I'm going to walk around. Let's walk around over on the other side. We had Cataly guava in a lot of different locations around the yard. And what I did with a helper is move them to create a food hedge along this edge, give a little privacy for us, and create something edible and lovely all at the same time, instead of building a fence. Now, right here is one of the Cataly guavas I chose not to move because it was filled with blooms and filled with fruit. And I want to eat some of this fruit. So I didn't move it yet, but when we do, it'll get moved out right to here. And we've kind of placed these about every 3 to 4 feet, roughly, to try to create this food hedge. So I'll do another video about this at some point. I can already see some of the mistakes I made, like this one's got to be pruned, and then I'm growing cucumber on the other side of it. So it's just a little jungle right there. So I've got to figure out how I keep it pruned and leaning, and maybe I don't do cucumbers there next year. Back over here is our pepper bed. We have mini cubanelles, and I'm sorry, these are Cajun mini bells. And I did a short about this week. This has been prolific in producing peppers. And if you live in an area where these will grow, which I think most places, especially in the summer months, I mean, I've gotten way more peppers off of this than even off of my established bell pepper plant. And so this is a great solution, especially if you have limited space to grow. This is just one plant, and I bet there's 40 peppers on right now, and we've already collected at least 30. We have some Carolina Reapers and ghost peppers growing in this bed. Looks like we've got some that need to be harvested down there. In this bed, I have Seminole pumpkin. I've put in some African blue basil. There's some Thai long beans on the end. It's growing kind of quickly now. It started out pretty slowly, but like this one here yesterday was only just starting to stick through this wire mesh. So I'm gonna have to get this wire mesh off of here today because I don't want it winding through that, and I'd rather do it now before it gets too big for its britches. Over here we have our cucumber, and there's some shishito peppers and bell peppers in this bed. I just attached this right to the bed, and it's getting kind of top heavy. So I've got to get up there and somehow get a string or get a bungee or something and sort of pull it down. I'm thinking I might just pull from the corner up there and then bring me a guide wire across like this or something. And here, just to tell you about the bell peppers, this will be our second bell pepper off of this plant, our second one. And this got planted probably within a week of the Cajun mini bell peppers. And so kind of different results there, But the cucumbers have done really well in this location. I've been trying to keep them coated with BT, but it's rained so much, it's almost pointless because I can't seem to keep enough on there to keep them completely at bay. But I do use my little bowl of water trick, my little cup of water trick, whichever you've seen me do. And it helps get rid of the pickle worms that are already in there and preserve most of the pickle. Over here, I've got more tomatoes that need to be cleaned up and cut back a little bit. And I do think that the raccoon has been up in all the beds now because things are turned over and twisted that weren't before. Now, we did have a lot of wind, so it could be the wind, but I'm gonna blame the raccoon for right now. He's quite a little busybody. Back here in the native garden, I'm kind of excited about this because we finally have a few natives growing. One of the challenges when you buy bird seed is your bird seed is not going to contain, unless you intentionally buy it that way, native seed. And so other things pop up, like this is probably a sorghum or a corn or something like that coming up. This other flower here was not here until we moved here. And we had the bird feeder out, so I'm assuming this came from bird seed. But I did plant in some rudbeckia, which is doing good now. This is an ironweed, which is about to flower. We have some coreopsis growing up right here. So I'm very happy to see some of our native things starting to pop. Over here along Orchard Row, we have a pomegranate tree, which is looking good. I put some natives in the middle, but they have not done as well as the plants on the outside, like the salvia. We've got a variegated lemon here, Myers lemon. We've got another Myers lemon. Some of these in the center just haven't done as well. Like the salvia and the pentas on the edges have done good. I don't understand quite why, but we've had a good bit of rain, so maybe they're just getting too wet. Maybe their feet are just too wet up in these garden beds back in the center, whereas in the front, they're getting the sun and the heat on the roots and it's drying out just a little bit more. In this bed, we have also blueberries. This is our elderberry that we planted. It's getting pretty tall. After this season, I might bring it back down some. We aren't currently harvesting them for us, but we might eventually. The birds seem to enjoy them, and so if I can let the birds eat that and come and eat the pest around the garden, I'm happy. On the back side of this orchard row, on this side, we have more of the tree and fruit plant nursery going on. We've got loquat, lime, more loquat. This is a raspberry that I'm hoping will begin to get some canes coming up. Another loquat, a nectarine. Not sure about this yet. It's not brown. I check on those. This is a pawpaw. Yay! Finally. And then we have, let's see, here's one of the raspberries blooming here. Then we have some grapevines. And it was too hot to put the grapevines in the ground this time of year, so I'm just letting them settle in these cloth bags. And from the back, we also have the mulberry. Kind of get a good view on the mulberry. I cut it back, and these nice big leaves are really starting to come out. So it'll be interesting to see if the leaf structure changes as I continue pruning it. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. And these things are pretty close. Like, I knew they were going to be close, but gosh, I don't think I realized I got them this close. But I'm going to try to keep everything pruned back so everybody can have a little bit of some room. We don't have to have 10,000. It's not a full family farm orchard, but I do want to be able to have some fresh fruit out here year round. Another lemon. I think that's a Eureka lemon. This is a navel orange tree and a couple of more blueberries. Now over here, I have a second mulberry tree, which came in as just a stick. It's doing really, really well here. And I've got some clumping bamboo. So I am looking forward to getting some clumps of this and eventually be able to use the bamboo canes around the garden. We have another blackberry bush here in a cloth bag. I am pretty psyched about having my little nursery area set up over here. It's kind of expanded again already. Imagine that, but I've got some native flowers here that got transplanted from somewhere else that I'm just trying to keep wet until I can figure out what I'm going to do with them. I've got some figs propagating underneath there. I'm propagating some salvia and some of the coreopsis that broke off. This is dotted horse mint. I had it planted in the yard last year and it goes crazy, and it made the front yard look pretty weedy and not as attractive to everyone who lives here, though I thought it was lovely. And so I'm finding a different place for this. I've been finding this, by the way, this is one of those things, if you plant it, you will have it forever. I'm still plucking them up out of the front yard. And so as I find small little seedlings, I pull them up, and I've been making starts out of them, and now I have 3 great big plants out of that. I have some more ironweed here. These are recovered from the meadow. I bought ironweed a couple of years ago, and it's seeded out in the meadow, and so I've just been digging them up so that I can transplant them and put them where I would like. And so they're doing really well. In fact, a couple of these will be for Mom's garden. We have some cassava here. Avocado that started in the compost bin. A blackberry. Actually, we have 2 blackberries here. And some taro. And so the taro was in another bag, in another bed, and it seems to be doing really well here. Leaves get big, we cut them back, and it just keeps on growing. Over on this side, we have 2 of our newer birdies beds, and I'm growing in here just a couple of things. One, we have this African blue basil, which started out as just a couple of little plants. This is an amazing plant for the pollinators. And since I don't have a lot of other stuff growing in here right now, I'm just letting it go crazy. But it's sterile. The variety I have is sterile. And so I don't have to worry about it being weedy and spreading everywhere. What is growing is the actual plant. It's just expanding. And they apparently will grow up to 6 feet tall, which I have seen it get pretty tall in this container. Everything that I have in the yard started from this one 1-gallon plant. And now I've been propagating it, cutting it back, and it just grows like crazy. And I love having it over here because the pollinators just love it. Also on here, I am growing Thai long beans, but these were some that I purchased from a couple of years ago, so I saved the seeds over here. And it's kind of funny, the leaves look different than the ones I'm growing on the other side. But I think a lot of it has to do with the different varieties or cultivars that they may be. Also in this bed, more of the African blue basil. This is just 3 little plants that were put together in a small 1-gallon pot, and now it's crazy. I did find out though, the African blue basil is an edible basil. It's just very, very strong. Supposedly when you make pesto with it, it mellows out, so I'll have to test that theory. But our family doesn't like that strong licorice scent, that's strong like anise, or as my family says, anise. And so it has that sort of reminder for us. And so for cooking with us, probably not going to happen unless I test it out in small amounts in a pesto or something like that. But I could make a whole lot of pesto with this, and it wouldn't even notice. It would just come back with a vengeance. Speaking of coming back with a vengeance, if you've been on the channel for more than a year, then you know this is Audrey. I built this cattle panel over the top of my raised bed here to grow loofah. And this year I did not plant any loofah, but I had left loofah laying in the garden bed, and all of this, for the most part, is from volunteers. Now, the thing that's really funny about this to me is, with all of this vine and all of these tendrils and a good number of flowers, we are not getting female flowers, and it's been weeks. And I've been trying to do a little research on that, so if you have any opinions or you can offer some thoughts about it, I would appreciate it. From what I understand, it's possible that the days are too long now to be setting female flowers, because this was a volunteer. It didn't get planted early in the season. It just started growing about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I think. I'll have to go back and take a look at the pictures, but it's gone like gangbusters, and it's shading out my bell peppers, which will be fine for now, because come fall, I'll start getting bell peppers again, and this will be gone and done. But I mean, there are just no loofah growing anywhere in here. None. None, none, none. I really probably should call this the jungle tour because look at the sweet potatoes. They have gone absolutely bonkers. I have them up in this cedar raised bed from Epic Gardening, and about once a week I come through here and just trim off this edge. I haven't been trimming it off on that side. In the back is some okra that I planted in here that fell over and is now growing up that side, and I can see that the loofah has taken over the fence and is trying to grow up into the bananas now. So I'm gonna have to do some more trimming. But gosh darn it, hopefully if this just comes to fruition as nice as it's looking, we're gonna have a nice load of sweet potatoes this season. I cannot wait. Then if we come around here and take a look at the bananas, we can see that while I did get a bunch of bananas on a bunch of different plants, they really did not make very many bananas. So like this one made maybe 3 hands. Up under here, this one made about 6 hands. Not these big giant racks of bananas, and it probably has to do with fertility. It has to do with how well I've taken care of it. Like this one's only got 3 hands of bananas on there. And up in there, kind of can see that one put on a few more rows, a few more hands of bananas. So, but still, we're getting bananas. We're getting bananas after all this work, and that makes me super happy. Now, up here on the patio, we're checking out this little cover here to try to give us a little sun shade in the mornings when we want to sit out here. It's worked out pretty good. It's a little bigger for the area than I expected, so we've just been testing different configurations on it. The dragon fruit is starting to look good, and check this out. We have a dragon fruit flower here. We have a dragon fruit flower there and a dragon fruit flower there. Let me get rid of that little snail. And one that bloomed last night. Let me go around to the other side. She is so beautiful. I just love how these flowers look. It's absolutely amazing to me. We did not, however, get out here last night and help pollinate her because we did not know that she would be opening last night. So we had a lot of rain, and we're hoping that a lot of these little tiny micro pollinators have done their job overnight. And then when it's all done, if they did, the fruit will come out right here. So I'm pretty excited about that. Aside from that, we have been taking the cuttings when we've been cutting it back and potting them up. And I am hoping that we can get even more dragon fruit growing from that. Now here in this little birdie's patio bed here, I got to show you something fun. The onion heads have sprouted right on top of the onion head. I guess this is how walking onions come to be. And so I just left it here to see what would happen. And so these are basically little onions now that have sprouted right on the plant. Isn't that crazy? I think it's crazy. We've got some shishito peppers here, more of my nursery items. I've got the African blue basil. I've propagated some mint. I've propagated some more salvia. There's even tomatoes down there. There's tomatoes, and that's just in a little jar for rooting. That's funny. This bed is empty now. We got to do something here. More salvia over here. And then the Leaning Tower of Basil. Starting to look pretty yellow. I think we've had so much rain that all of the nutrients have just washed through. And so definitely this week I need to put a little bit of fertilizer on here to sort of help level it back out. The older plants, the more established plants are looking better, but up top it's not. And that makes me think of that the soil's the same, but this got to be just washing through more. More water gets on the top than anywhere else. Now, this has become one of my new favorite gardening tools, especially this time of year, because we get sporadic rain. Like it doesn't rain every day. We might go 2 or 3 days without rain. And so I do need to water. But if I come out here and I've had at least a 1/2 inch of rain or near a 1/2 inch of rain from the day before, the night before, I know that I don't need to water. If I have less than that, then watering will be important for the garden. Down here we have a kaffir lime. We have another navel orange here, looking good. We have betel. We have a key lime. We have some crepe myrtle. I've got more propagation nation back over there. We have a gooseberry here and some Vietnamese pomegranate and even a few sweet potato vines that I am cutting and letting root. And I haven't moved the rosemary yet, but you noticed I didn't try to walk backwards this time and let it trip me up. So I'm being much more careful, though I do want to find a new place for it because when this rain tank overflows, it goes across here and frankly, the rosemary is just getting too much water. And so I have to get some help to move them, but I will get them moved out of the way and put somewhere else in the meadow so they're not getting as much of the rainwater. And of course, a garden tour would not be complete without a cameo from Moose, who is feeling better. Moose spent several days in the emergency hospital and he's doing much better now. Feeling better, looking more like himself. Here we have our sweet potato experiment in this bag. I am cutting it back every couple of weeks once it starts hanging over, so I've got some more trimming to do. In this bag, for the most part, I'm not cutting it. It did get clipped when we were doing some landscape work over here, cutting back the Biden's alba. But for the most part, I've just let this grow and go. And I want to see in October, after being planted for 1 year, which one has the most sweet potatoes down below. Now, you'll see a bunch of other stuff in here this time that belongs to one of my neighbors because I'm plant sitting, but I still have peppers over here. We have a calamondin, and actually, let's see. Yeah, that's a calamondin. And down here, we have a little baby key lime. And if you saw the video where I trimmed back the lemongrass, you can see that it's pretending like that never happened now, and it's just come right back and you have no idea it was even cut back recently. Hi. Hi. And last but certainly not least is the avocado tree. We've had a few avocados off of it this year, and we've had to make some adjustments and finally got the bag better closed at the bottom because we had an avocado fall into the bag and the raccoon made guacamole and chewed through the bag, but couldn't get into it, but just squeezed the avocado out through this very fine mesh, but could not chew a hole all the way through it, or did not chew a hole all the way through it to get up inside. So I'm gonna call that a win. And that, my friends, is what's growing on here in the meadow. It's so muggy this morning, my glasses are starting to fog over. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you want to see more things like this. And if you want to check out another video, be sure to check out this video right over here. Until next time, my friends, remember to drink plenty of water, wear that high quality sunscreen, and as always, have a fantastic day.